please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, there goes the bell, and it's a very flat opening. Nifty 5,777, so it's 7 points higher. Sensex is 45 points higher, and therefore it's just still counting in 0.09, 0.06% in terms of gains over yesterday. Mid caps are a little better at 0.25% higher. Bank Nifty is lower, about 0.2%. Gainers, I think we should first read the losers, because it's Wipro. That's down about 3.6%, and it's taking HCL Tech also lower, 1.4% lower. Axis Bank is starting cautious, about 0.5%, 0.7 lower. BPCL is lower. There's a slight uptick in crude prices, I guess. Kotak Mahindra Bank, and actually even the DA secretary said that beyond $75, they would be worried about the consumer. There's only that much, and we'll play that bite for you again. But BPCL, HPCL are quieter today, about 0.4 down. Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank are also lower. So that clearly is pulling down the Nifty Bank more than the other banks. On the gaining side, Hindalco up 0.9, GAIL up 0.6, Z, M&M, Power Grid, Sun Pharma, Reliance are all up about 0.5%. That's the one that's gaining. But I think there are other result reactions in mid-caps which are perhaps more important, Sonia.
Yeah, before Sonia talks about that, I just want to point out on, we were talking about this on PC Jewellers yesterday as well, down about 15%. It's down another 6% today. I think the market has not taken this kindly, the statement that they made that one of the promoters has gifted some shares to his family through off-market transaction, and disclosure would be made later. So I think, we were discussing this yesterday. There's something which is missing, and that's why, that stock was down 15% yesterday as well, and down another 7% today, because the statement which has come on BSE says that while promoters have not sold any shares, one of the promoters of the company, I think Padamchand Gupta, he has given some of his shares to his family members on an off-market transaction. What is off-market transaction? So I think that's something that the market has not liked, and they've said that disclosures on that would be made later. I think that's something that the market has not liked. Sorry, Sonia, I just wanted to point that out.
No, absolutely. I mean, that is the big loser right now, down almost about 7.5%. But the mid-caps as a whole are doing okay, so up about 0.2% there. The market breadth is positive, almost 900 stocks on the advancing side. The stock that's moving with some strength is M&M Financial. After a good set of numbers, that stock is up in the green. Indiabulls Real Estate also is reacting well to its numbers, up almost about 4% odd. On the downside, we've spoken about Wipro, that's down 4%. Syngene is also under a bit of pressure, down about 2% odd right now. By the way, in the broader markets, Imami has a big spurt for itself this morning. So that stock is now up 6%. Volumes also picking up on Imami. So just keep an eye out on that. Look at the price action there. And Gati, there's a board meeting today to discuss the induction of a strategic partner. So Gati is actually surging quite a bit. It's already gained 30% in this month. So keep an eye out on that. The Mumbai-based real estate players continue to do well. So not just Indiabulls, you have DB Realty. There was a big gainer yesterday. So that one continues to move higher this morning. And stocks like Indoco Remedies, Ipca Labs, in fact, pharma is making a bit of a comeback. So you're seeing it in the broader markets as well. Those stocks are looking pretty good. Many stocks hitting new highs today. So HDFC Standard Life is at a new high, Pidilite is at a new high, and midcap IT, Mindtree, has made a new high this morning. It's crossed that 1,000 rupee mark. So looking pretty good there. Apart from that, the market is just hovering around this 10,580.
Oh yes, Reliance Naval is down another 10% today. So that's interesting. Just keep an eye on that one as well. Relcom is down about 4%, but on the way up, Hathway Cable is up 5%. There was that block deal, of course, yesterday, but quite okay opening for the market. 10 points higher on the Nifty and 16 lower on the Bank Nifty. Sudarshan, your thoughts on market opening?
Well, the markets are flat, and I think there will probably be a big move one way or the other before the markets close. I have no idea. If it's a down move, good, but I'm not buying the up moves.
Okay. Mitesh, anything you're buying now after looking at the market opening?
Biocon looks like we'll have some continuation on the upside, so that's a stock to get into, possibly keep a day's stop just below day's low, and I think look for 675 as the target.
Okay. Prakash, anything you're noticing?
Yeah, Container Corporation looks weak. Can see a slight around 1300 zones. Shriram Transport looks good. Can climb to around 1675.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask about a couple of mid-cap IT stocks. Would you buy a stock like Emphasis, Sudarshan?
Well, yes, I think so. Emphasis at lifetime new highs, but that doesn't affect. That's a buying opportunity, but it's a positional trade. It's not something I would buy for a day, but it's worth buying into. And there are two stocks that are looking interesting now. One is Cadila Healthcare for buying, and the second, which already Mitesh had mentioned, is Biocon, both for buying.
Okay. What about Prakash Gaba? Any of these names from the NBFC space? Shriram Transport, in fact, is picking up now quite a bit, so that one's looking quite good. Anything that you like over there?
I certainly like Shriram Transport. I think it's heading to 1675, maybe 1700 zones. Very strong support in the vicinity of 1625. That's a place one could have a stop and go long on this Shriram Transport.
Okay, Reliance Naval is actually now on the down circuit, I mean the temporary circuit that happens in F&O stocks. So that one is quite interesting. NIIT Tech, 1100 and higher on that stock. So phenomenal move on that one right now. Any call here, Sudarshan? Big move continues on that one.
Well, again, most mid-cap IT stocks are buying opportunities, not just for the day. So NIIT Tech also, if you're looking for a 3 to 4 week period, at current levels, it's a stock worth buying into.
PC Jewelers now expanding its losses,
Yes.
9.5%, almost 10% lower. Clearly, market's still wanting to get some more clarity on what exactly that transfer of shares means in an off-market deal. Jindal Stainless also not doing too well. Some of the stocks which have reported numbers are still troubled, but Indiabulls Real Estate is not one of them. It's a little complicated to even understand the numbers, but the market's not choosing to punish the stock. Okay, Deven, anything in the results season that we missed out? Anything you want to point out?
So I think quite a few of companies have come up with a good set of numbers. Yesterday, the Sterlite Technologies came up with a very good set of numbers. They continue to grow the company at 30% plus kind of a ROC level now. So I think this is very important from a perspective that I think when you look at the company in past and today, on one side, yes, of course, their customer segments have started putting in more orders, particularly from the European markets as well as from the overseas export markets, where the 5G rollout activities have started taking place. On the other side, India market is yet to open up on the 5G rollout, and again, I think it promises to be a larger order book coming into them. As we see, they expanding their capacity to 50 million fiber kilometer cable. I think this company should remain in a favorable list as far as I think the numbers are concerned, expected numbers are concerned. So this is one company which we have liked. I think it shows the consistency of growth in coming years.
Okay, well, M&M is also surging now and once again hitting a new high, 864 now on M&M. It's the second biggest Nifty gainer. Sudarshan, any thoughts on how to approach this one? It's already gained about 20% this month.
It doesn't matter, it will gain much more. M&M is a must hold in your portfolios. Vakrangi, if you look at it, is locked in a down circuit and the charts make very interesting reading for the last 3-4 months.
Which is sell, sell and sell.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us with your early morning trades and the pre-market advice. We will, of course, touch base with all of you after the markets open, say 1 hour into the show. And a big thank you to Devin Choksi as well for being with us. Well, markets have opened extremely quiet, and I think they're reserving all their activity for later on in the day, probably after 2:30, when the expiry queues take hold of the market. At the moment, it's only the mid-caps that are up about 0.3%, and you will have to give a word of positivity to the advanced declines as well. With the mid-caps rising, you have about 1.5 stocks in the green for 1 in the red. That's as positive as it gets. Considering the kind of fall we saw yesterday. With this backdrop, let us invite our market master for the morning, Mihir Vora, Director and CIO, Max Life Insurance. Good morning, Mihir. Thank you very much for joining us. What's your sense? The market has weathered several negative news, current account deficit, rupee fall, rise in yields, and of course, rise in US bond yields as well. It's come back to 10,600. Is there a very good reason that we are going to see it build towards 11,000?
I'd say we should see some kind of consolidation. We have seen quite a lot of volatility in March and April, both on the downside as well as upside. But now with the results season on, I guess the markets will digest the earnings numbers for the next few weeks and then take a call going forward.
Okay, Amir, hi, good morning. What did you make of the IT earnings that have come out so far? It's been a mixed bag of sorts. Best in class, of course, has been TCS so far. But your own thoughts on how to approach this space now?
Yes, so in IT, it's been an interesting ride over the last 3 months. While numbers have been mixed, as you mentioned, there have been some positive surprises. But I think the bigger driver is the fact that the US economy seems to be doing better than what was expected. The tax cuts which are coming through is leading to expectations that corporate America will up its spending on IT and other investments, and that's the reason why we are seeing a good trend towards IT stocks. The other factor driving is the fact that rupee has weakened, and it looks like the dollar index globally seems to be on a rising path with rising US yields. So that again is adding to the momentum in the IT sector. So what we have done is we used to be underweight in the segment, and now we are a little overweight, not very heavily overweight, but now a little overweight on the segment.
Okay, Mir, hi, good morning. But on IT, and what exactly you think is happening right now? Is it just a case of, I mean, there was some valuation catch-up which happened, of course, but of late there's been massive buying, and especially mid-cap ITs, stocks like Tata, Elxsi, NIIT Tech, Mindtree, they've doubled over a period of 3 or 6 months.
Yes, so we're sticking to the larger ones, frankly, because that's where the liquidity is. And my guess is, like us, a lot of, by consensus, I think the whole market was underweight on the segment. And that's the reason why you are seeing such a sharp move on the basis of a couple of factors. One is valuations, as you mentioned. Valuations had lagged significantly over the last couple of years vis-a-vis the rest of the market. So there was a good catch-up trade waiting to happen in any case. And second is the fact that since people are underweight, there would be a rush to cover the underweight as you see a little bit of positivity coming back to the segment.
Okay, the 10-year yield is at 7.75. Actually, it's become a market with very, very thin volumes and people just buying only to sell something else, selling something to buy. But it's more of switching rather than any new money coming in to this market. Well, Mihir, today we saw the first impact of the bond yields on the real economy as well. HDFC Bank has raised its deposit rates. Clearly, that's the first step to raising lending rates as well. First, your view on private sector banks itself, and then what can be the impact of those rising rates?
So I'm not too worried about rising rates as long as the rise is moderate, so to say, without any shocks, because we have seen that the private sector banks and NBFCs have been able to pass on any cost increases in the interest rates because they are more efficient, and if the economy is doing well, I don't think the credit demand is that sensitive to rates. I think what is more important is whether the economy is growing and whether there is genuine demand for credit, and if there is demand, pricing power should not be a problem.
Okay. All right. So that's about rising rates and about private banks. You spoke about IT and how you think that there is still some more steam there. What are the other spaces be more growth potential?
So broadly, IT is one change that we've made over the last few months, where, as I mentioned, we were underweight and now we are mildly overweight. But apart from that, the two big things that we have been playing for quite some time still continue. A is local consumption. B is government-led spending in the construction, urban infra, defense-related segments. So I think these are two big themes that are frankly the only visible themes which are going to drive growth, because private sector capex and investment is not happening. So we're not playing a big one on the capital goods space or the big infra lending space.
Okay. Well, just to come back to IT a bit, when IT started its big rally at the turn of the millennium, it went on for a decade almost, the way in which the IT as a sector moved, and then it as a sector started receding. Do you think we are on into a multi-year gain in terms of IT as it masters the new terrain?
So that will be a function of how effectively the Indian IT services companies are able to manage the transformation from the traditional, application and development and maintenance services to more digital and more value-added, more consulting services. So that's a hope that's
what I'm asking is, are you already seeing signs of that?
Yeah.
Are you seeing signs of the transformation?
No. I mean, not in a significant way. Of course, we have say 10 to 20% of the business coming from digital, or that's what companies are classifying it as digital. But I think it's still plain vanilla IT services. What you really need to do is move up the consulting chain, move up the value chain, and that should ultimately show up in the margins. This plain vanilla work which the companies are doing is not going to give you more than high single digit or low double digit kind of growth.
What about metals, Mihir? The global rally is continuing, even with some jerks in aluminum. For the rest of the metals, it's continuing, and now the Indian companies will have the advantage of a cheaper rupee. Will you buy any of those stocks?
Yes, so we continue to maintain a little bit of overweight in the metals segment. It's a volatile one, I would say. So I don't think we are going to get heavily overweight in the segment. But there seems to be a global super cycle building over the next 1 to 2 years. And I don't think there'll be a reason to go heavily underweight in the segment for quite some time.
Okay, that's about the metal space. What about some of these rural consumption theme stories? You did mention it briefly, but the CV financiers, the NBFCs related to that space, the auto component players over there, is that a story that will still play out?
Yes. So as we discussed, consumption per se is going to be a significant theme as an economic driver and the market driver. But within that, rural may even be more accentuated because of the election-led spending. So as we build up to 2009 and a few state elections, I think there will be a little bias towards spending in the rural segment, a little bit of profligacy also maybe to some extent. And that's the reason why I think if the monsoon pans out in a normal fashion, which it looks like as of now, then the rural plays, as you mentioned, will continue to do well this year.
Okay, Mihir, finally wanted to ask you, which part of the finance space, you did speak about rural, but there are a lot of shades in NBFCs. Which sector do you like?
So in NBFCs, we prefer the ones with a little bit of retail mix rather than the corporate-oriented lenders because there might be chunky risks out there. So whether it's housing finance, affordable housing finance, or consumer durable finance, those are the segments where we see sustained growth, so to say.